When we think about control, we usually picture something loud: arguments, demands, maybe even yelling. But what if I told you the most effective control is the kind you can't even hear? Today, we're diving into the silent tactics manipulators use to get exactly what they want, often without you ever even noticing. Let that sink in for a second. The strongest control tactic is the one nobody notices. It works in the background, in the pauses, in what isn't being said. And that subtlety, that's precisely what makes it so incredibly powerful.
So, what do these expert manipulators not do? Well, for one, they don't get dragged into arguments.
And they definitely don't waste their breath trying to convince you with some long-winded explanation. Nope. Instead, they do this. They let silence do all the heavy lifting. It is the absolute core of their strategy, making other people comply without ever having to ask. So how on earth does that actually work? Well, their first weapon is something we'll call the power of the pause, and it's all about weaponizing silence right when things start to get tense. The psychology here is just fascinating. When a conversation gets tense or awkward, what's our first instinct? It's to fill the silence, right? To smooth things over. A manipulator knows this, and they intentionally pause, letting that uncomfortable quiet do all the work for them. And this lays out the chain reaction perfectly. So, tension pops up, they go completely silent. That silence makes you feel uncomfortable, maybe even a little anxious. And to relieve that pressure, what do most of us do? We give in. We agree, we back down, we comply. Just like that, the power has shifted, all without a single word being spoken. Now, the next tactic actually builds right on top of this. This one is all about getting you to do the work for them. Oh, this is so effective. They'll ask a really simple question like, "So, what happened?" And then crickets. They just wait. That silence creates this vacuum, and you feel this overwhelming urge to fill it. So you start talking and then explaining, and before you know it, you're over-explaining everything. And this is the trap in action. That short little question, that's the bait. Their silence is the pressure. You feel like you have to talk, and in doing so, you start revealing information, insecurities, maybe weaknesses you had zero intention of sharing. They gain total control of the information without ever having to push you for it. Okay, so next up are two tactics that work together to create what's called an unbreakable frame. This is all about building a reality that's so strong, other people feel like they have no choice but to operate inside of it. Now, listen to this, because this is the crucial part. When you challenge them, they do not defend themselves. If you say, "Hey, I don't think that's a good idea," they won't argue back. They'll just calmly say, "This is the decision." By refusing to even debate, they signal that their decision is final. It's not a suggestion, it's a fact. And that is what makes their frame so ridiculously strong. There's zero justification, there is no apology, and crucially, absolutely no emotional reaction. It's just this calm, immovable stance that forces everyone else to adjust to their reality. The second part of this unbreakable frame is withholding validation. Think about it. Normally, you do something good, you get a quick, "Hey, great job," right? But a manipulator, they make you wait for that praise. This delay makes you wonder, it makes you work harder for their approval, and it turns their validation into a powerful tool of control. Okay, this brings us to the final tactic, and this one really gets to the core lesson in all of this. And here it is, the final checkmate move. They are always willing to be the first one to end the conversation and just walk away. They do it calmly, no storming off, no drama. This sends an incredibly powerful message. I don't need this to go my way. I am not attached to this outcome at all. And really, that's the bottom line, isn't it? The person who is less attached, the one who can genuinely walk away from the deal, the argument, or even the relationship, that is the person who holds all the cards. So here's the fundamental truth that kind of flips everything on its head. Most of us think that power comes from talking more or arguing better or being louder. A manipulator knows the exact opposite is true. Real power comes from saying less and letting other people unravel themselves in your silence. If you take away nothing else from this, remember this. Silence creates psychological pressure. And that pressure, more often than not, creates compliance. That's the engine driving every single one of these tactics. So look, understanding all this is one thing, but it begs the most important question, right?
When you're faced with these silent tactics, how do you actually protect yourself and stay in control of your own choices?
The answer is surprisingly simple, though it's not always easy to do. You have to master your own reactions. If you don't feel that urge to fill their silence, well, their pause has no power. If you don't over-explain yourself to their leading questions, their trap doesn't work. See, the power isn't really in what they do. It's in how you react.
So what's your defense? Think of it like a three-part mantra. First, stay aware. Learn to recognize these tactics when they're being used. Second, stay sovereign. You own your reactions. You are in charge of them. And finally, stay untouchable. Because when you master yourself, you become immune to their silent control.